I would like to begin by offering a trigger warning for discussions of parental abuse, violence and sexual assault in relation to mythology and the series. I'll be putting notices in relation to the topics, but this is an overall starting warning. Now, there is something about the Percy Jackson series that has always kind of gotten on my nerves, and it's usually relating to the gods and the fluctuating imagery that is given to certain gods and how they are perceived in the story and how they're shown in the story. There's one god in particular that I've never fully understood the reason behind their portrayal, and that god is Ares. Let me explain. Now, Ares in the series is shown as an airheaded, dumb, meat-headed, jock-like violent figure, and that's all he is. But what surprises me the most is that it doesn't make sense for that to be his character based on mythology, but also based on the things that we learn later in Heroes of Olympus. Now, I know, obviously, as a writer goes on, things can change narratively and you can understand how things are different in later books. But even still, some of the things that Ares is introduced as, to start with, just really don't make sense. And the first one, an initial warning here in relation to parental abuse. The first one is the fact that Ares is portrayed as an abusive father. Now, the reason why I have an issue with this is because of the fact that there is no justified reason for why Ares is an abusive father other than the fact that he is the god of war. And war only means violence in Riordan's writing, which isn't necessarily true, especially with the later portrayals of, and admittedly, the Roman side with Mars, for Frank's mother, who was a hero who saved her fellow soldiers whenever she could, putting herself at risk to save others from death and violence. But in the Percy Jackson series, all Ares wants is death and violence. But war isn't just about death and violence, it's about protecting others, and in the fact that also love and war go together. To have him just be a violent figure doesn't really make sense, and that's really the only justification we're given for him being an abusive father figure. We're shown him being abusive towards Clarice, and particularly it is towards his daughters, making him also a sexist god. He raises his hand to Clarice in Sea of Monsters and she flinches, giving us a sign that she has previously in the past experienced physical violence from her godly parent. It is then inferred in one of the short stories that, well, this is not the first time that he's being unkind to her, but also due to the fact that she is a girl. It is both sexism and violence that is part of his character. But this is where things don't make sense. Not only the fact that war obviously isn't just about violence and hurting things, but also the fact that Ares shouldn't be sexist, because he created the Amazons, or was one of the reasons why the Amazons were created, a race of warrior women who Ares is directly connected to. And yet, he's sexist. He thinks women shouldn't be in war. His exact words to Clarice in the short story she's in is he should have gotten one of her brothers to do this quest for him because she's a girl and incapable. That makes no sense for mythology and his character. The second point that I would like to go into, and trigger warning for this also in relation to sexual violence, is that Ares is known for protecting his children. There is a mythology that is talked about in the Percy Jackson and the Greek Gods series, the main book where Percy is doing stories about the gods. One of the stories that Percy provides is that Ares protected one of his children by killing I believe it was a son of Poseidon, I haven't double checked, I admit, killing a son of Poseidon, or killing a man who was trying to assault his daughter. So he has protected his children, he has protected women, he is a protective person, and yet he is only again shown as a violent bully. Even though there is a history of him working with warrior women in that he helped create the Amazons alongside Artemis, he has protected his children from violence, admittedly with violence through the killing, but he was even put on trial for that, and he underwent the trial for, you know, killing someone who was about to commit a crime. But the whole scenario of him just being this one-note figure that doesn't match with mythology, that doesn't match with the sort of storyline that even the books are going for. Like, there is a moment in the last book where Clarice is grateful for her father's, you know, affection, being like, yeah, my daughter's a hero, even though in the story he is an abusive figure. You think that'd be played up also for the demigods to turn against the gods more because one of them is literally abusive to their children? It just feels like the only reason why Ares is portrayed as a violent figure is to make other gods that are connected to our main heroes look better. Especially considering Poseidon, for example, is one of the worst gods in mythology. Probably worse than Zeus, which is a hard feat to do. And yet he is the one who's portrayed as a good father, a good person, well, good god, who does, yes, have flaws, but nothing to the level that Ares does. It very much feels like some of the gods, for example with my Aphrodite video, which I'll card here, have been given the short end of the stick deliberately to make the other gods and other godly children look better in comparison to others. Ares, Aphrodite, Artemis with the Hunters of Artemis as well. Some of these gods are deliberately shown in not a good light to make others look better. I think this was really disappointing, and I definitely think that Ares and Aphrodite in particular got the worst end of the stick with this. Ares probably a little bit more so. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Ares has been really misrepresented? But what do you guys think? Do you think Ares has been really misrepresented in this series? And do you think he could have been portrayed better as a whole in this series? Or are you not really fussed with how the gods are portrayed in this series? Do you think it was maybe accurate to what it needed to be for the story? Whatever the case, let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this because I'm kind of conflicted, if I'm honest. I don't really know how to feel about it, but I know I'm not a fan. As always, thank you all so much for joining me for this video. I truly appreciate all the support. In the description box down below, you'll find the links to all of my social media, my merchandise store and my Patreon, where, as I am now unemployed, I would really appreciate if you could check me out on Patreon and support me there if you can. Can't support me financially, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, drop a thumbs up, a comment, share with your friends for the algorithm's sake. And again, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.